Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I'm up. Let me check my sound. It is 11:38 on a Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing all right. This video is going to be relatively quick, but I have some heavier ones after this video. Someone is coming to the house and they need to get into my studio to fix something. So I want to do this video and then I'm going to get to some of my heavier videos after this. But this was in my queue, so I had to get this one out of my queue. I said I was checking my sound. I batted doing two things at once. I started checking my sound and then immediately went to something else. All right, and it sounds good, perfect. Joy-Ann Reid. We need to talk about Joy-Ann Reid. In fact, Joy-Ann Reid, come on down. You are the next contestant. Now, Joy-Ann Reid has been caught into a bit of a kerfuffle, if you want to call it a kerfuffle. The liberal firebrand, and let's call it that, the pugnacious puncher for the Democratic Party, Joy-Ann Reid, sits on her perch and she espouses Democratic talking points. They try to call her a journalist, but ultimately she just espouses Democratic talking points. Whatever they want to talk about, Trump, Russia, whatever, that's their person, that's their go-to person. If they want to pontificate about things of LGBT or race, identity, these issues of identity, that's the Democratic Party wheelhouse. That's Joy-Ann Reid's basic disposition. Great. Problem. About a year or so ago, ramblings from Joy-Ann Reid came up where she was essentially saying stuff that was kind of homophobic. Now, if you're going to represent the Democratic Party and you're going to cling to identity as like the only life raft in this sea of issues, then you can't be homophobic. You can't have it both ways. It is a little weird for somebody to say, I am fighting for blacks, I'm fighting for Hispanics, but the gays, kind of fighting. A little strange, a little weird. You can't have it both ways. She would sit on her perch and she would have a go at certain people for doing the exact same thing. You can't have it both ways. Joy-Ann Reid got caught, like I said, a year ago, but now new ramblings have come up. There's something that I've never heard of called the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine allows you to keep, it's like an archive of the things that have taken place in the past, in the internet. Archived. Joy-Ann Reid. Paging Joy-Ann Reid. Take a look at let's look at this. I love this. This is irony. Irony is fucking awesome. Joy-Ann Reid says, nobody tell her about the Wayback Machine. She's responding to Trump's pick for Deputy Secretary Advisor, deleted her Twitter account, Facebook account, and shut down her website. Uh-oh, this person did this because they were trying to hide. And Joy-Ann Reid responds, nobody tell her about the Wayback Machine. Hey, Joy-Ann Reid, this tweet didn't age all that well. Nobody tell Joy-Ann Reid about the Wayback Machine. Because the Wayback Machine has got a lot of shit that Joy-Ann Reid said that was somewhat homophobic. Beyond being somewhat homophobic, Joy-Ann Reid's response to this is the reason why this is in an uproar. Joy-Ann Reid was caught the first time and she said, look, my bad. You guys caught me saying something that I probably shouldn't have said. My bad. This time around, she's like, I've been hacked. Somebody hacked the Wayback Machine and inserted those comments. I've been hacked. Okay. I'm dubious about that hack claim, but let's step into it. The Internet Archive trashes Joy-Ann Reid's dubious claim that hackers made her look homophobic. Essentially, this was repudiated pretty quickly. It was debunked. You weren't hacked. You just wrote some really bad homophobic shit that conflicts with your interests as a Democratic Party functionary. You can't hug identity and still be somewhat homophobic. And by the way, the standard that the Democratic Party set is if you say something that's homophobic, then you are by definition homophobic. If you say something that's racist, you're by definition racist. I don't care what's inside of you. I don't care what you actually meant. If you say it, you meant it. That's been the Democratic Party touching point. And look, they're not fully wrong on that point. I mean, how else can I judge you by what comes out of you? I don't know if you're a dandelion on the inside. I only know the trash that comes out of your mouth. Same standard applies here. Same standard applies. When did Joy-Ann Reid stop being homophobic? Did Joy-Ann Reid stop being homophobic? And I understand that she wants to claim that hackers did this because, again, it conflicts with her role as a Democratic functionary. But Joanne Reid, there are problems with your account. And lying that you've been hacked. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Let's take a look through it. Let's go through it quickly. First thing, some background. A full decade ago, when she was still a morning talk show host in South Florida, Reid edited a political blog called The Reid Report. She used the blog to write, among other things, the ugly string of posts attempting to out then Florida Governor Chris Christie as gay, repeatedly referring to him as Miss Charlie, calling his marriage to a woman a fraud, and even speculating about their sex life and wondering if Chris's wife had to cope with him ogling male waiters as on their honeymoon. She also suggested that if Chris somehow made his way to John McCain's 2008 ticket, he would be too preoccupied with things like picking out the flamingo-shaped napkins to get anything done for the White House. Now, if a right-winger said this, there would be outrage. One media show after the next on MSNBC will be screaming fury and anger. Fire them, fire them. How are you going to have this homophobic person on your campaign? This person is outwardly homophobic. How are you going to have somebody like this on your campaign? Get rid of him. Get rid of him. I don't know if MSNBC is making a big deal out of this. Let's keep going. There's more. And by the way, it's not that I don't think some of this is funny. It's somewhat more so the disposition that MSNBC and Democrats take, hugging identity. And then contrasting that with what Joanne Reid is saying here, and contrast that with the reluctance of people on MSNBC to have anything to say about this. If this was somebody else on Fox News, if this was somebody else with some political campaign, they would be screaming their heads off at this being homophobic. But it's Joanne Reid, so give her a pass. A lefty Twitter user laid all these findings out in November 2017 Twitter thread, which receipts from the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. Huh. Nobody tell her about the Wayback Machine. Joanne Reid wasn't ready. She was not ready. Days later, Reid, who was by then hosting her own weekend politics show on MSNBC, apologized for the posts, which she called insensitive, tone-deaf, and dumb. She also pointed to her friends in the LGBT community as evidence she's not homophobic. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's, honestly, that's one of my favorite parts in the whole thing. It's an African-American saying, I'm not homophobic. I have gay friends. Yes! I love that. Because that's not unique to whites. For whites to say that, it's just that whites are usually in a position of saying it. I'm not racist. I have black friends. Republicans say it all the time. And Democrats scoff. And blacks say, oh, everybody wants to have the black friend. Everybody wants to have a black friend. And now Joanne Reid, African-American herself, is turning around and using the same trope saying, I'm not gay. I have gay friends. Fucking love it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. It gets worse. Let's see. But on Monday, things got weird again. After the same Twitter user unearthed even more offensive comments from Reid's old blog using Wayback, which archives Wayback. Nobody tell her about the Wayback Machine. Joanne Reid wasn't ready. Which archives publicly available internet content, even if it's been removed or deleted by its author. Media published an extensive story about the latest posts among the deeply offensive posts contained therein. Far from an exhaustive list. There's more than this. Reid defending the former NBA star Tim Hardaway, saying that he hates gay people by saying most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. Does that make me homophobic? Probably. In the same post, she went on to write that it's intrinsic for heterosexual people to believe that homosexuality is gross. In 2006 post counting down the totally not gay celebrities of the year, a list that included Clay Aiken, Tom Rose, and Anderson Cooper at number 1. Idly floating an interesting question about whether you could manipulate the genes of your unborn child to make sure they don't turn up gay. Promoting insidious and deeply old stereotypes that gay men are just predators and pedophiles seeking out impressionable teens. An obsession with movie Brokeback Mountain and premise of a love story between two men was too out there for her, and that she again just didn't want to watch a sex scene between men. Now, to be fair to Joanne Reid, I don't necessarily want to see a sex scene between two men either, but I'm not out here proclaiming it to the world, and that is not necessarily something that's on my to-do list of things that I need to talk about and discuss. It's not that big of a deal to me. Just because I don't necessarily want to see this particular act, it doesn't necessarily thrill me or do anything for me. But I'm not on my talk show coming up with reasons to have this conversation about a litany of things where she's, for all intents and purposes, bashing or going after gays. This is just weird. It's just bizarre. Even more so for this person to be on supposedly the Democratic Party. I'm not even going to call them the left. The Democratic Party, who supposedly love identity, hug identity, is representative in the force for identity. Come on, Joy, this looks bad. And again, the person that this is not even an exhaustive list. Now, if Joy and Reid looked at this and said, my bad. I said some things back in the past when it was somewhat a little bit more socially acceptable to be able to get away with those things. And my bad. I'm sorry. I've changed my views on this stuff. I'm a different person now. Not I have gay friends, but I've changed my views on this stuff. I've evolved from this particular position, and my bad. Joy and Reid's response to this was, I've been hacked, and somebody has introduced information that I didn't say. There's a voluminous case of these, though. This looks a little weird. Let's keep going. Let's hear comments on it. Let's hear it. Be fair to Joy and Reid. So Reid is arguing that hackers wormed their way into the Wayback Machine. In December, I learned that an unknown external party assessed and manipulated material from my now defunct blog, the Reid Report, to include offensive and hateful references that are fabricated and run contrary to my personal beliefs and ideology. Did they now? That seems like a lot of work to do, just to go after you. I began working with a cybersecurity expert who first identified the unauthorized activity. We now notified federal law enforcement officials of the breach. The manipulated material seemed to be part of an effort to taint my character with false information by distorting a blog and ended a decade ago. But you admitted to similar content. You admitted to similar content. The content that you admitted to doing. Did somebody manipulate that also? This is what I don't understand. I don't understand. Don't understand. You're saying somebody manipulated your content. Did they manipulate the stuff that you agreed that you did right? And this stuff kind of falls in line with your same tone and cadence in some of the other homophobic blogs or screeds that you were writing. Let's keep going. So Reid is arguing that hackers wormed their way into the Wayback Machine to edit her archived post to add more anti-LGBT content to smear her. Splinter has reached out to Reid and MSNBC for comment and will update the post if they get back to her. In response to Splinter reaching out to her comment, an Internet Archive staffer pointed to a new blog post on their site repudiating Reid's claims that malevolent forces manipulated her site. When we reviewed the archives, we found nothing to indicate tampering or hacking of the Wayback Machine's version. At least some of the examples allegedly fraudulent posts provided to us has been archived at different dates and different entities. We let Reid lawyers know that the information provided was not sufficient for us to verify the claims of manipulation. Consequently, and due to Reid being a journalist, quote unquote, a very high profile one at that, the journalistic nature of the blog archives, we declined to take down the archives. We were clear that we would welcome and consider any further information that could provide us to support their claims. Essentially, what they're saying is not true. As Glenn Greenwald pointed out at Intercept, basically, any security breach is theoretically possible, although Jeffrey Card, the cybersecurity expert he spoke with, said, I've never heard of this happening, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen, I guess. I've never heard this take place. But is it theoretically possible that cats could fly if they were thrown off of a roof with wings? Maybe. Maybe. It's been a short, strange trip from Governor Chris. From Miss Charlie to Mr. Lapdance. Lindsey Graham addresses rumors, I ain't gay. Respect the high voice. I'm going to interview Ann Coulter tonight. What do you want me to ask her? Don't you mean Shim? Wow. It seems that these jokes go in a very particular direction, don't they? Don't they? Reid also had previously attacked Chelsea Manning in a transphobic Twitter thread and framed Manning's reports of torture as complaints about needing a pillow Oh, listen to that. That's awesome. All of this would seem to cast doubt on Reid evoking "I've been hacked" excuse, which is such an old whiny dodge that it's become somewhat of a Twitter meme. Do you remember when what is his name? Anthony Weiner, the most oddest name in Congress, or at the time was in Congress, and in an odd irony, foretold of some of his problems. When Weiner sent his wiener in a pic to some teenager or to some woman under the thread of Carlos Danger. I love that. Carlos Danger. I love that. He's dangerous. And he said, I've been hacked. This dick pic is not from me. This dick pic is from some hacker who injected that stuff into my Twitter thread to damage me politically. And now Joanne Reid is going to the same meme. Is this a meme of Democrats or what? I've been hacked. I love how hacks say they've been hacked. The MSNBC host is clearly trying a new tactic to face down embarrassing old comments coming back to haunt her this time around. Unless we present it with some concrete evidence that such an elaborate hack of Reid's archives transpired, let's hope she doesn't get away with it quite so easily. Look, my issue here is not if Reid came out and said, look, I said some things back then that I could get away with. I can't get away with those things now, and I apologize. My views have changed on this. This no longer reflects my views. I've evolved on this issue. I am sorry. There were a lot of stuff back then that I probably shouldn't have said. It looks bad. I understand I've attacked Republicans for similar stuff. I've attacked Republicans for issues of identity. And now this is coming back to haunt me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I throw myself on the altar. I'm sorry. I've been hacked. It's something different. I've been hacked. It's something different. Hypocrite. Joy-Ann Reid. Hypocrite Joy-Ann Reid. Wesley Walker. Where is it? Great show, Jamal. Thank you, Wesley. I appreciate it. All right. I'm not going to keep this one long because I have stuff. People are coming to the house and they're going to knock on the door in like 5 minutes. My dogs are going to freak out and you're not going to be able to hear me. So I want to thank all of you for coming to the show. I'm going to be back on immediately after these guys leave, so probably within an hour or so, with a little bit harder content. Bomb strike in Yemen that the United States supported ended up killing a bunch of people at a wedding party. There's that. There's somebody who wrote a post saying that Bernie Sanders has conquered the Democratic Party. That stuff is nonsense. I'm going to rip that article apart because that article is ridiculous. There's a difference between optics versus things that actually are real, tangible. It's one thing if Sanders had knuckled the Democrats under. They're out here attacking lefty candidates left and right. Bernie Sanders comes out whining, please stop attacking my candidates. Please stop attacking people from the left. Do you believe Bernie Sanders whining about them attacking people from the left anyway stops the Democratic Party apparatus from attacking people on the left? It does not. It does not. If you're telling me that he's conquered the party, and this is somewhat of a tangent, you need to show me that these forces within the party that are trying to knuckle under progressives, those forces are still there. He's made them better liars. It's a difference from being a better liar to actually talking about implementing policy that changes the country. It's a difference in those things. I want to talk about that particular article. I don't mean anything bad harm to the author itself, but I am going to talk about that article. So I'm going to leave it at that. I will see you guys probably in roughly an hour or so whenever the guy finishes in the room. All right, guys. Have a good one. And Joanne Reid is a hypocrite. So know that. And by the way, it's not so much that, look, whether she's homophobic or not, all of this is evidence of a person whose just values are oriented around whatever she's talking about at the time. So if her values, if she's defending Tim Hardaway, she can make a racist joke or sexist joke in defense of Tim Hardaway because her values allow her to do that. If she's talking about the Democratic Party, well, her values allow her to make certain content or say certain things in reference or defense of the party. It's not because you have this humanistic value of, I think trans people should be defended. I think LGBT people should be defended. I think these things, I guess what I'm saying is it's not a blanket support of those things from a humanistic perspective. It's purely from the perspective of the party. When the party itself wasn't necessarily on board for gay issues, then she could talk about gays in that particular way. The moment that gays are added to the identity mix of the Democratic Party, I can't talk about it in those terms anymore. But just because you can't talk about it in those terms anymore doesn't mean that you've necessarily changed who you were on the inside. No, it doesn't mean you changed one iota. It just means that the party that you've affiliated yourself with doesn't necessarily allow that type of rhetoric. Not that you yourself have changed on the inside for it. There's a difference in those things. I in no way can determine what's inside Joy and Reid. And her telling me that she has a gay friend in no way makes that, fuck that. You won't take that excuse if somebody said I have a black friend, I'm not racist. So why will you take that excuse from you having a gay friend? You're not homophobic. So saying she was hacked is weird. Saying she was hacked was weird. These posts fall in line with the normal rhetoric that she was using. I am more inclined to believe that this is just the way she is, and this is the way she was. Her best effort, her best bet would have just been to say, I'm sorry. I evolved. I had certain thoughts back then that I don't have now. But that's not where we are. That's not the position she took. She said, I've been hacked. I'm a hacked that's been hacked. I'm a hack that's been hacked. Alright, I'll leave it at that. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon, and I will see you guys probably in about 30 minutes or so. Thanks, guys.